The great hall of Ziyara Prime shimmered with strange alien lights. Hundreds of guests filled the place, humans, aliens, diplomats, soldiers. They had all come to witness the impossible, a marriage between a human man and a princess of another. David stood at the center, his chest tight, his heart beating faster than drums. He had never thought his life would come to this. 1 year ago, he was only a soldier posted at the border. Now he stood in a hall filled with creatures who looked at him as if he was both a curiosity and a threat. Beside him stood her Lyra, the alien bride. Her skin glowed faintly under the lights like silver touched by moonlight. Her eyes were deep violet, watching him with something he could not read, fear. Or was it desire? The ceremony continued with chants in 2 languages, human and alien. The priest spoke of unity, of peace between their races. Everyone clapped when they declared the marriage official. But David felt something strange. When Lyra took his hand, her fingers trembled. Her lips formed a smile, but her eyes told another story. She leaned close, whispering so softly no one else could hear. "You don't understand what this means," she said. A shiver ran down his back. He wanted to ask, but the guests were watching. He only nodded, squeezing her hand. The ceremony ended and the hall exploded in cheers. Wine was poured, alien music filled the air, and people celebrated. Yet David could not enjoy it. He kept glancing at his bride, noticing the way she avoided certain faces, the way her smile faded when no one looked. Finally the night grew late, and they were led to their private chamber. Guards closed the heavy door behind them. Silence fell. Only the low hum of the alien palace remained. David turned to her, trying to ease the tension. "So, I guess this is it. Husband and wife." Lyra did not answer. She stood near the window, her back to him, staring at the alien stars. Her long hair shimmered like liquid silver. Then she spoke, her voice low. "You think you married me, David, but you did not marry me alone." His chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She turned, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "My people. We do not marry the way humans do. One sister does not belong to one man. We are bound together." He stepped closer, his voice hard. "Sisters? How many?" She looked down, almost ashamed. 3. Before he could ask again, a sound came from the shadows of the room. A soft whisper, a breath of laughter. The hairs on his neck rose. He spun toward the darkness, his fists tightening. "Who's there?" The silence stretched for a moment. Then he heard it again, multiple voices, feminine, playful, whispering his name. "David?" He backed up slowly, his mind racing. Were they assassins, spies, or something worse? His hand went to the small blade he still carried on his belt. But Lyra raised her hand. "No," she said quickly. "Do not fight. They are not here to kill you." "Then what the hell are they doing here?" His voice was sharp, his pulse thundering in his ears. Lyra stepped closer, her expression torn between fear and duty. "They are my blood, my sisters. By marrying me, you accepted them too. Tonight, they will come to you." Before David could speak, the shadows moved. Figures stepped out, tall and graceful, their eyes glowing like her own. 3 women, each beautiful in a different way, each carrying the same strange alien elegance. They smiled at him, their lips curling in ways that made his chest tighten. One had hair like midnight, falling across her pale shoulders. Another's skin shimmered blue-green, like ocean waves under starlight. The third's gaze was sharp, burning with curiosity. They moved slowly, circling him like predators studying prey. The room filled with their scent, sweet, strange, almost intoxicating. Lyra stood back, her hands trembling. "I wanted to tell you before, but I feared you would run." David swallowed hard, his blade still in his grip. "You should have told me." The sisters laughed softly. their voices blending in eerie harmony. One leaned close enough that he could feel her breath on his neck. "You are human," she whispered. "Brave, but are you strong enough for all of us?" David's pulse raced. He had fought battles, stared death in the face. But never had he faced something like this. 3 alien sisters, eyes glowing in the dark, stepping closer and closer, as if he belonged to them now. He turned to Lyra, his voice raw. "What happens if I refuse?" Her answer was soft, but it chilled him to the bone. "Then the marriage fails, and peace between our worlds dies with it." The sisters' laughter grew, circling him, their voices like music, like a trap. The shadows closed in, their hands almost touching his skin. David's breath caught in his throat. His life had changed forever. The door was locked. The whispers grew louder, and he realized the wedding night had only just begun. The air inside the chamber grew heavy. David could feel it pressing against his chest, as if the palace itself wanted him trapped. The whispers hadn't stopped since the moment he first heard them. They circled him like smoke, playful and chilling at the same time. He tightened his grip on the blade at his belt, sweat gathering on his palms. The 3 figures moved closer from the shadows, their faces slowly becoming clear under the soft alien light. Lyra, his bride, stood still near the wall. She looked almost smaller now, fragile compared to the 3 who emerged. The first stepped forward. Her skin was shimmering silver blue, and her eyes burned like 2 suns. She tilted her head, studying him like he was not a man, but a puzzle. "You smell different," she whispered. Her voice was smooth but sharp, like silk over steel. "Human blood, fast and hot." David's jaw clenched. "And who are you supposed to be?" She smiled, baring teeth just a little too sharp. "I am Cerise, the eldest." Before he could speak, another came forward, her steps slow, deliberate. Her hair was black as midnight, flowing around her like a living shadow. Unlike Cerise, her voice was soft, almost tender. "I am Neva," she said, her eyes glowing faint violet. "The one who watches in silence. I see more than my sisters do." She looked at him, not with hunger, but with curiosity that made his skin crawl. The third appeared last, and unlike the others, she didn't walk, she almost danced. Her body moved lightly, her smile playful, her golden eyes flashing. "I am Vera," she said, "the youngest, the one who likes to play." Her laughter filled the chamber, high and sweet, but something inside it felt dangerous. David's breath grew shallow. 3 sisters, each different, but each carrying the same otherworldly beauty that could make any man falter. They circled him, their movements slow, their eyes never leaving his face. He took a step back. "So this is your secret, Lyra?" His voice cracked with anger. "You marry me, but I get all of them too?" Lyra looked away, shame flickering across her glowing face. "It is our way. One cannot choose one without the others." Cerise's smile widened. She reached out, her hand brushing the air near his face without touching. "He does not understand yet, sister. He thinks marriage is one woman, one man." Vera giggled, moving behind him. He felt her breath against his neck. How boring humans must be. David spun around, his blade flashing in the dim light. "Stay back." The sisters only laughed. None looked afraid. If anything, they seemed more interested in him now. "You fight?" Neva asked, her voice almost like a whisper in his ear. "Good. We like fire in a man. Fire means he will not break so easily." David's eyes darted between them. Every soldier's instinct in his body screamed to attack, to find a way out. But he knew something else. This wasn't just a trap of flesh. This was political. If he struck them, he would start a war. His voice was low. "What is it you want?" Cerise leaned closer, her violet eyes glowing. "We want to see if you are worthy." "Worthy of what?" Her answer came with a slow, cruel smile. Of us. David's heart pounded. His bride had never told him this, never warned him what her people's marriage truly meant. Now he stood surrounded by 3 alien sisters who looked at him. Not as a man, not even as a husband, but as a challenge. The door behind him was locked. The windows were sealed. And in that suffocating chamber, David realized one terrifying truth. This night was not about love. It was a test. The sisters stepped closer, their hands rising, their whispers growing louder, filling his mind with unease. Lyra's eyes glistened in the shadows, torn between duty and fear. David raised his blade one last time, but deep inside, he knew the truth. He wasn't fighting assassins. He was fighting tradition. And tradition had no mercy. David stood frozen, his blade catching the faint alien glow of the chamber. 3 sisters circled him like wolves, their violet and golden eyes fixed on his every move. His bride Lyra remained against the wall, silent, her trembling hands pressed to her chest. The eldest, Cerise, broke the silence first. She stepped close enough that David could see the faint silver markings on her skin, glowing like battle scars. Her voice was steady, powerful. "You are not here for comfort, human. You are here for trial." David's grip tightened on the blade. "Trial? I thought I was here because I married Lyra." Cerise tilted her head, her smile sharp. "To marry. One of us is to be claimed by all of us. But words mean nothing. We need proof." The youngest, Vera, giggled and moved swiftly. In a flash, she was behind him, her golden eyes shining with mischief. Before David could react, cold steel brushed his throat, a thin alien dagger in her hand. Her laughter was playful, but her voice carried an edge. "Do you flinch, human? Do you beg, or do you fight?" David's breath caught. He could feel the blade's tip grazing his skin. One wrong move and his throat would open. "Vera!" Lyra cried out. "Enough!" But the younger sister only smirked. "If he is weak, he dies now. If he is strong, he proves himself." David forced himself not to move, not to give her the fear she wanted. Slowly, he lowered his own blade. "If you wanted me dead, you'd have done it already." For a moment, silence. Then Neva, the quiet sister with midnight hair, stepped forward. Her voice was like a whisper of wind. "He does not beg. He does not tremble. I see it in his eyes. He does not yield so easily." Vera's blade left his throat. She spun away, laughing like a child who had found a new toy. Cerise, however, was not finished. She walked to the center of the room and drew a circle in the air with her hand. Strange symbols flared to life, glowing red. "Then he will face the right," she declared. David's jaw clenched. "And what is that supposed to be?" "The test of trust," Cerise said. "You will stand among us, unarmed. We will test your strength, your courage, and your restraint. If you fail, you are no husband. You are nothing." David glanced at Lyra, but she would not meet his eyes. He realized this wasn't her choice. This was bigger than her. He slowly placed his blade on the floor. The sisters watched him with keen smiles. "Good," Neva said softly. "The first step is taken." In an instant, Cerise lunged at him. Her hand shot toward his chest, claws flashing in the dim light. Instinct screamed at David to fight, to block, to strike back, but he forced himself still. The claws stopped a hair's breadth from his heart, close enough to feel the cold heat of her power. Cerise's lips curled. "He trusts." Next came Vera. She darted around him, her laughter echoing in the chamber. Suddenly, she pressed her lips near his ear, whispering strange alien words that carried both desire and threat. Her hand slid along his arm, testing his control. He wanted to shove her away, to break the spell, but he held his ground. Neva was last. She stepped close and stared into his eyes, unblinking. Her pupils dilated, and suddenly David felt her inside his thoughts. Images of war, of his past battles, of blood and fire filled his mind. She saw his memories, his pain, his guilt. He clenched his fists, resisting the invasion. "Get out of my head." But Neva only whispered, "You carry weight. Yet you do not fall, strong, stubborn." Then she pulled back, her eyes narrowing with quiet respect. The three sisters gathered again, speaking in their alien tongue. Lyra finally dared to step forward. "Well," she asked. Her voice trembled. Cerese's gaze remained on David, sharp as a blade. "He has not broken, but the rite is not finished. He has only survived the beginning." David exhaled, his heart racing. Sweat covered his brow, but his spirit burned brighter. He had been tested with fear, with temptation, with invasion of his very mind. And he had endured. But as the sisters smiled their strange smiles, he realized something chilling. The real trial had not even started yet. The chamber felt colder after the trial began. David's body was tense, but his mind was sharper than ever. He had survived their first game's fear, temptation, and the invasion of his thoughts. But the way the sisters watched him now made his chest tighten. They no longer looked like hunters circling prey. They looked like judges waiting for a final verdict. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then, slowly, the three sisters began to move apart. Cerese, the eldest, remained still in the center, her eyes glowing like molten silver. Neva retreated to the corner, where shadows swallowed her tall figure. Vera, the youngest, slipped into the darkness behind him, her laughter faint, echoing as if it came from everywhere at once. David spun, trying to follow the sound. "Show yourself." He barked, but only whispers answered. "Human, do you fear us now? Would you give your life for her?" The voices overlapped, haunting, never coming from the same place twice. His skin prickled as if invisible hands brushed against him in the dark. He clenched his fists. "Enough of your games. Face me." The laughter grew louder, and suddenly, the chamber lights dimmed until only faint alien symbols glowed on the walls. Lyra gasped softly, pressing her back against the door, as if she wanted to escape, but she could not. The doors were sealed. Then Neva's voice cut through the air, low and steady. "This is not a game. This is truth." Her figure reappeared, but her eyes were closed, her lips moving with words David could not understand. Shadows twisted around her, coiling like living smoke. David's heart hammered as he realized she was summoning something older than all of them. Cerese raised her hand, silencing her sisters. She looked at David with cold intensity. "You stood against our blades, our touch, and even our thoughts. But strength means nothing without loyalty." David's chest rose and fell. "Loyalty?" "Yes," Cerese said, her tone sharp as steel. "Would you betray your bride to save yourself?" The words hit him harder than any weapon. His eyes flicked to Lyra. She stood trembling, tears glimmering in her violet eyes. "What are you planning?" he demanded. Vera's laughter rang again. Suddenly, a chain of glowing energy shot from the darkness, wrapping around Lyra's wrists. She cried out as it pulled her toward the sisters. David stepped forward instantly. "Let her go." Cerese's voice cut through like a blade. "This is your test, human. If you stay, you endure with her. If you leave, you save yourself, but she is lost to us." David froze. His instincts screamed to fight, to break the chains, to rip them apart. But part of him also knew this was exactly what they wanted, to see which path he would take. The whispers grew louder, crawling into his ears, into his head. "She is not yours alone. She is bound to us. You cannot protect her. You cannot even protect yourself." The sound pressed against his skull until his vision blurred. He dropped to his knees, his breath ragged. Still, his eyes locked. "On Lyra, I won't leave her," he growled through clenched teeth. "No matter what you do." The chains pulsed, glowing brighter, searing into Lyra's skin. She whimpered, her voice breaking. David. David pushed himself up, every muscle in his body screaming, but he forced his legs to move. If this is your test, then hear me, kill me if you must, but I will not abandon her. The chamber shook with a deep sound, like thunder beneath. The ground, the whispers stopped. Silence fell so sharp it hurt his ears. The sisters stared at him, their smiles gone. For the first time, there was something else in their eyes. Not hunger. Not mockery. Respect. Not Eva opened her glowing eyes, the shadows retreating from her body. Her voice was quiet, but it carried weight. He speaks truth. Cerise lowered her hand, and the glowing chains vanished. Lyra fell to the floor, breathing hard, clutching her wrists. Vera pouted, her golden eyes glimmering. He passed, but it's not over yet. David knelt beside Lyra, helping her up. His chest was still burning from the whispers, but his voice was firm. Whatever test you throw at me, I'll endure it. But I won't betray her. The sisters exchanged a look, a silent conversation between them. Then Cerise stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. You may be stronger than we thought, human. But strength and loyalty are not enough. She leaned forward, her words colder than ever. Next we test desire. The chamber was still humming with silence after the chains vanished. Lyra leaned weakly against David, her breath uneven, but her eyes filled with quiet relief. He had chosen her, he had refused to abandon her. For the first time, a flicker of trust passed between them. But the sisters were not finished. Cerise's voice cut through the stillness like ice. You have shown loyalty, human, but loyalty is not enough. Desire binds deeper than duty. Without it, you cannot belong to us. David's eyes narrowed. I didn't marry for desire. I married for peace. Vera giggled, her golden eyes flashing as she stepped forward. Peace, she whispered. Peace is a word. Desire is fire. Without fire, your bond will turn to ash. Before David could react, Neva raised her hand. A glow spread across the chamber, and suddenly the air thickened, sweet and intoxicating. His pulse quickened against his will. The room smelled of wild blossoms and something deeper, something alien. His skin tingled as if invisible hands brushed across it. What is this? David growled, fighting the heat rising in his chest. Neva's voice was low, like a melody slipping into his mind. This is the rite of bonding. We test the hunger you hide, the desires you bury. You cannot lie to us, not here. David's jaw clenched as his thoughts began to blur. He tried to focus on Lyra, but she looked away, ashamed. Her trembling lips parted. I could not tell you, David. Our law demands it. To prove yourself, you must accept them, or refuse and be cast out. He shook his head. You should have warned me, but his words broke off as Cerise stepped closer. She didn't touch him, yet he felt her presence like a storm pressing against his skin. Her silver blue eyes locked with his. Show us, she whispered. Do you burn for us? Or do you fear yourself? David's chest tightened. His mind screamed to resist, but his body betrayed him. The scent, the glow, the way their voices blended, it was pulling him deeper. Vera moved behind him, brushing a finger along his shoulder, teasing, laughing softly. Neva's gaze pierced him, her voice echoing inside his thoughts. You want to deny it, she whispered in his mind. But desire cannot be denied, not forever. David staggered back, his breath ragged. He wanted to scream, to fight, but part of him feared the truth. They were breaking through his defenses, layer by layer. Lyra stepped forward suddenly, her voice trembling. Enough! The sisters froze, eyes narrowing at her. He is my husband, she said firmly, though her body shook. If he must prove desire, let it be for me, not for you. For the first time, silence rippled through the sisters. They exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Then Cerise's lips curled in a small, dangerous smile. So the bride has a voice. she said. Vera's laughter chimed again. How sweet. She wants him for herself. How human of her. Neva tilted her head, studying David with quiet intensity. Perhaps that is the true test. Not whether he desires us, but whether his desire chooses her. David's heart hammered. He realized the trap. They were not just testing if he could resist them. They were testing if his desire was strong enough to bind him to Lyra. Even when temptation circled him like fire, Cerese's voice was sharp. Then let it be decided tonight. If his fire burns only for the bride, he passes. If it falters, he fails. The chamber lights flared, the air thick with heat and tension. Lyra's hand reached for his, trembling but desperate. Her violet eyes locked with his, begging silently. Choose me. The sisters closed in, their whispers brushing against his ears, their beauty pressing on every weakness. His body was caught between temptation and loyalty, fire and duty. David's fists clenched, his voice breaking through the haze. I know what I want, and it isn't you. He pulled Lyra close, his arm wrapping around her protectively. The sisters froze. For the first time, their laughter stopped. The air shifted, heavy silence replacing the whispers. Then Cerise spoke, her voice low and dangerous. You chose, but choices have consequences. The silence after David's choice felt heavier than stone. He held Lyra close, her violet eyes wide with shock, her body trembling against him. The three sisters stood still, their expressions unreadable, but something in the air shifted. The playfulness was gone. Cerise, the eldest, finally spoke. Her voice was low and sharp. You dare refuse us. Few have done so. None have lived long afterward. David's grip on Lyra tightened. I didn't come here to please you. I came here because I chose her. The chamber lights flickered, the alien runes along the walls glowing blood red. The ground vibrated as if the palace itself responded to Cerese's anger. Neva's eyes closed, her lips moving in a whisper, summoning the shadows once more. Vera's laughter had changed. It was no longer playful. It was wild, unhinged, echoing in the chamber like the cry of a predator. The night of trials begins, Cerise declared. Before David could react, the chamber itself transformed. The walls seemed to stretch outward, twisting into vast black arches. The floor rippled like water beneath his feet. Suddenly he wasn't standing in a room anymore. He was in a void, a space between worlds, where shadows formed endless corridors and alien light pulsed overhead like a second sky. Lyra clutched his arm, terrified. They're binding us inside the trial realm, she whispered. It is where no husband has ever endured till dawn. David's jaw clenched. Then tonight, I'll be the first. The sisters' forms shifted. Cerise grew taller, her silver blue skin glowing brighter, her figure armored in spectral light. Neva's body dissolved into mist, her glowing eyes floating within the smoke like two stars. Vera leapt into the air, golden sparks trailing from her body like fire. They circled him. Not as women now, but as something more ancient forces of their kind. Guardians of their traditions, survive the night, Cerese's voice thundered. Or your bond dies here. David pulled Lyra behind him, his fists clenched. He had no blade, no weapon, only his will. The first attack came swift. Vera swooped down, her hands glowing with fire. She struck at him, laughing madly. David rolled aside, barely dodging the flames that seared the ground. You can't outrun me, human. She taunted, but when she dove again, David stood his ground. He waited until the last second, then grabbed a shard of broken stone from the warped ground and slammed it into her path. The shock sent sparks flying, and Vera cried out. Spinning back into the air. Next came Neva. The shadows thickened, twisting around David's legs. He kicked, punched, but the mist clung tighter, pulling him down into the dark. His lungs burned. As whispers clawed at his mind again, showing him visions, his failures, his losses, the faces of soldiers he could not save. "You are weak," her voice hissed inside his head. "You are not worthy of her." David roared, slamming his fists into the ground. "I am more than my past." His voice shattered the illusion, and the shadows recoiled, screaming as if wounded. Neva's figure reformed, her eyes widening with shock, but Cerise did not wait. She raised her hand, and the ground beneath them split open, glowing red like molten fire. Lyra screamed as the floor gave way. David grabbed her, pulling her close as they landed on a jagged platform suspended over an endless abyss. Cerise stepped forward, her silver light burning brighter. "Strength, loyalty, desire, you have shown these. But will you sacrifice?" David's chest heaved. "What do you mean?" Cerise's eyes narrowed. "To win the trial, you must give up what you value most." Before he could answer, Lyra gasped as glowing chains wrapped around her again, dragging her toward the edge of the abyss. David's blood ran cold. "Choose, human," Cerise commanded. "End the trial by surrendering yourself to us, or lose her forever." David's heart thundered in his chest. He could see Lyra fighting against the chains, her terrified eyes locked on him. His every instinct screamed to run to her, but Cerise's words echoed in the void. "Sacrifice what you value most." If he gave himself, they would take him. If he resisted, he might lose Lyra. The abyss burned below. The sisters closed in, and David realized the night of trials was not about surviving them. It was about breaking him. The trial realm shuddered like a living beast. The abyss below roared with fire, its glow painting the jagged platform in crimson light. David stood at the edge, his breath ragged, his fists bloodied, but his spirit unbroken. Lyra was still bound in glowing chains, pulled closer to the brink. Her terrified eyes locked on his, violet irises shimmering with tears. "David, don't let them take me." Above, the three sisters hovered like gods of judgment. Cerise's silver glow burned brighter than fire. Neva's mist writhed like serpents around the abyss. Vera's golden sparks danced wildly, her laughter sharp as broken glass. "Choose, human," Cerise thundered. "Your life for hers, your surrender, or her fall." David's chest heaved, his mind racing. He had already endured fear, temptation, loyalty, desire. Now they demanded the final sacrifice. He looked down at the abyss then. At Lyra. Every part of him screamed one truth. He could not lose her. He stepped forward, his voice steady. "If sacrifice is what you want, then take me." The sisters paused. Their glowing eyes widened. Neva's voice echoed softly. "He means it." Vera pouted, her golden sparks flickering. "But it is no fun if he gives himself." Cerise's expression hardened. She raised her hand, and the chains holding Lyra dissolved. Lyra stumbled into David's arms, clutching him tight. For a brief heartbeat, relief flooded her trembling body. But Cerise's next words froze the air. "You offer yourself freely, then prove it." The platform beneath David cracked. A pillar of red fire rose around him, cutting him off from Lyra. She screamed, pounding against the wall of flame. "David!" Inside the fire, his body seared, but he stood tall, refusing to fall. He shouted over the roar of the trial realm. "You think you can break me? You can burn my flesh, chain my soul, rip me apart, but you will never own me. I am human. And humans don't yield, not to fear, not to temptation, not even to gods." His roar echoed through the abyss, shaking the trial realm itself. The fire cracked, then shattered like glass, exploding outward. Cerise, Neva, and Vera staggered back, their glowing forms flickering. David stepped out of the flames, his body battered but his will burning brighter than ever. He pulled Lyra into his arms, his voice fierce. "She is mine, and I am hers. If you want me, you'll have to take both of us. because I will never stand apart from her." For the first time, the sisters did not laugh. They bowed their heads. The glow around them dimmed. Neva spoke first, her voice soft, reverent. "He endured fear. He resisted desire. He chose loyalty. He sacrificed himself. He is worthy." Vera floated closer, her golden sparks fading into nothing. She tilted her head, smiling faintly. "Maybe humans are not as boring as I thought." Finally, Cerise stepped forward. Her silver eyes locked on David, sharp but no longer cruel. "You have passed what no man has passed. The trial is complete." The trial realm trembled, its shadows folding inward. The jagged platform melted away, and suddenly they were back in the marriage chamber. The walls were still, the lights soft. As if nothing had happened, Lyra clung to him, her tears falling onto his chest. "I thought I'd lose you." He kissed the top of her silver hair, whispering, "Never." The sisters stood together, watching in silence. Then Cerise spoke, her voice calm. "You are not just her husband now, you are ours as well. But more than that, you are the first human to ever claim us without surrendering. That bond will change everything between our peoples." David's chest rose and fell, his eyes steady. "Then remember this. Peace isn't built on chains or fear. It's built on choice, and I choose her, always." For the first time, Cerise bowed her head. The other sisters followed. The chamber doors opened. Dawn spilled across the floor, golden and warm. David stood with Lyra in his arms, his body bruised, but his spirit unbroken. Around them, silence reigned. The impossible had happened. A human had endured the night of trials and won. Final cliffhanger question for audience. Would you have survived the night of trials? Or would the whispers of the alien sisters have broken you first?